Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
Wow. Booming. The rotation of the helicopter's propeller and the explosion of the helicopter falling into the living tree continued one after another. Human beings have reached a level of paranoia for their attachment to living trees. You are all here waiting. I will meet those humans. In addition, Tony, I asked you to bring out the communicators from the Research Institute before. Now I will debug them all. I know that you are the President of the United States. After it's over, I will talk to him personally. This world has always been the strongest king. The mutant beasts have surpassed human beings since their development. It's time for them to roll off the altar. Chi-Chi. Yibei spit out the letter.
Yes.
After listening, Tony and others didn't dare to hesitate and immediately began to squat on the ground to assemble the base station and communicator. The Golden Lion, Wang Wan, and Chun Huaqiu you also wanted to join the war for fun. But after seeing Yi Bei's cold eyes, they immediately remained silent. Wow. As for Yi Bei, after the sound fell, he didn't hesitate to think in his heart that he could just release his power in this area. So the next moment, a huge vine rose directly from the ground and lifted Yi the North lifted up, growing rapidly into the air. 100 meters. 500 meters. 1,000 meters. 1,200 meters. In the blink of an eye, this vine rose a full 1,200 meters. Outstanding. Become the highest point in the entire Sahara Desert. And Yi Bei, entrenched on the green vines, attracted the attention of countless helicopters and all satellites almost immediately. Although it was small in size, it was too conspicuous to appear at this time. Call. In the air, a helicopter roared past. In the cockpit, Ding Zhuang and Zhou Yuhang exhaled. It's very dangerous. What's going on in this place? I almost lost my mind just now. The helicopter was about to crash, and based on the radar scanning and the naked eye, there were really many accidents in the helicopters that were performing missions together. It's weird. There was cold sweat on Zhou Yuhang's forehead, and when he spoke, his voice trembled slightly, and his heart felt lingering. The Sahara Desert, the big trees here seem to be fully alive. No wonder it is an SSSSS level mission. If the situation here is known to the world, the consequences will be troublesome. It is incredible. I feel like an alien creature. Invasion. Ding Zhuang's face was pale. He stared hard at the front. It's just that he had just finished speaking, and his body trembled, and the sweat on his forehead was dripping out. The same goes for Zhou Yuhang, who was sitting next to him. Whoosh whoosh. Because, right next to their helicopter, a green vine suddenly rose up suddenly. At the top of the vine, a small silver-white snake entrenched through the protective window of the helicopter. Ding Zhuang and Zhou Yuhang. Even you can clearly see the appearance of the little snake. Extraterrestrial creatures, really alien creatures. Ding Zhuang couldn't help it anymore and yelled out of his mouth. Report the situation here. Aliens have invaded. The two sitting in the cab shouted loudly. It's not just them. The number of helicopters performing the mission this time is innumerable, exceeding 10,000. When the vine that Yi Bei entrenched became the highest point in the Sahara Desert, it immediately attracted the attention of countless people. God, it looks like a silver-white snake. Isn't our goal the big tree here? What is this snake? Does extraterrestrial life really exist? The government has been hiding it from everyone. How to do? Continue to perform the task. After dumping the contents of the storage bin, go and check the situation. Many drivers screamed. Of course, such a scene naturally cannot be concealed from the satellite. Global Security Conference Center. The heads of major countries stared at the photos and videos fed back from the Sahara Desert for a long time without words. In the end, General Kim of North Korea took the lead in breaking the silence. This silver-white little snake seems to have sent back photos before the big living tree appeared. I'm sure it is the same one. If it is correct, the resurrection of the big living tree is also related to this little snake. Yes, even the snake is so arrogant now. As long as everyone agrees, I immediately arrange for someone to carry out a nuclear attack on that snake and promise to turn him into ashes. General Kim yelled at the computer aggressively, as if only North Korea had nuclear weapons in the world. The five hooligans stared at the screen with ugly expressions and remained silent. The Secretary General of the United Nations also felt the awkwardness of the atmosphere, but the tree vine lifted up a silver-white little snake. This scene was really shocking and must be dealt with today. He cleared his throat and spoke slowly. Everyone, the drug attack on the Sahara Desert is still ineffective. However, the appearance of this silver-white snake represents a terrible thing. 5 months ago, we did fail. The flame did not burn the mutant beast to death, and the living tree and the mutant beast seem to have reached an alliance. When it comes to this, the UN Secretary General's complexion is getting more and more gloomy, and the living tree itself is difficult to deal with. If you add mutant beasts, can you really only dispatch nuclear weapons? Let's see if those drugs can cause damage to living plants. In addition, the helicopters sent this time are all armed. Since the snake stands on the highest point and exposes the target, he will be treated. Let's talk about the offense. The beast is the beast. The British Prime Minister spoke. As he spoke, he glanced deeply at the Black President. The five gangsters can no longer remain silent now. At this moment, the muscles of the Black President's mouth are twitching. The Sahara Desert, the Underground Research Institute, Tony, the mutant beast, the living tree, and the civilization of the beast gods constantly popped up these words in his mind, telling him rationally that this snake is not simple. Maybe he knows where Tony and others are. But in the current situation, there is nothing to do. Your Excellency the President of the United States, do you think you should attack? At this time, the Secretary General of the United Nations emphatically asked the Black President, "Call. Take a deep breath. The Sahara Desert is no longer necessary. This snake exposes its target and should be killed. I agree to fire," gritting his teeth while speaking. I agree. The Russian emperor did not fight against the Black President this time. He knew the point of the matter. I agree. The French president speaks. Only the representative of Huaxia country, with a deep and unpredictable look, when the other four gangsters agreed, he slowly said, "I abstain." Huh. When the voice fell, it immediately attracted the attention of dozens of heads of state. Okay, it is abstention again. This is fine. It is very Huaxia, and it is in line with Huaxia's consistent style. But, just as the voting continues, at the same time as the satellite was taking pictures, a complete sound wave was collected in the signal collector. The snake entrenched on the green vine spoke, hoo-hoo. In the Sahara Oasis, at an altitude of 1,200 meters, strong winds roar constantly. However, the vines of that big living tree would not even sway in a strong wind, and were extremely firm. Golden Lion, what do you think the king is doing? When you reach the top, is it fighting those humans head-on? Chi-Chi. Wang Wen spit out the letter, entangled in the ground, and asked at the Golden Lion. The Golden Lion keeps his head up? Didn't the king just say that this world should be respected by the strong? Humans can no longer stand on the top of the earth. Our mutant beast army is not as good as theirs, regardless of wisdom or our own. Physical fitness far surpasses humans, and even in technology that humans are proud of, they are gradually surpassing. If it is correct, the main purpose of the king is to declare the strength of our mutant beast army. Ho ho ho. The Golden Lion's mouth burst out with low roars. The tens of thousands of mutant beasts around, all quietly entrenched. The vast majority of mutant beasts don't care about Yi Bei's behavior. In their opinion, Yi Bei is the king of the Legion. No matter what he does, he is right. They only need to follow Yi Bei's orders and be here. Just wait patiently. I don't care so much. In the past, humans used our beasts to do experiments and eat all beasts. Now we have the power to resist, and we must treat humans as food. I believe the king thinks so too. Wang Wen spit out the letter. His eyes were killing intent. Half of the body was entangled, and the other half was erected. Even if the sky was covered by huge leaves, he still tilted his head, wanting to see clearly. Yes, humans are damned. The number is close to 8 billion, which is crazy. Speaking of eating humans, the Golden Lion suddenly became enthusiastic. Wow, whizzing. At an altitude of 1,200 meters, Yi Bei is entrenched on the green vines, watching the entire Sahara oasis environment from top to bottom. To be honest, when he first saw it, he was also shocked. The entire desert becomes an oasis. The pollution produced by humans can finally be alleviated. It's just that Yi Baidu didn't have to observe the beautiful scenery, the dense clusters of helicopters flying in the sky, like a large group of mosquitoes, made him very upset. But soon, Yi Bei calmed down again. Chi, the scarlet letter spit out from his mouth, lifting his head slightly. Humanity. The Sahara Desert has become an oasis, and these living plants will not take a step forward to turn this place into the lungs of the earth to treat the damage you humans have caused to the earth. Don't you really plan to release it? Been here? The sound is not loud. But when Yi Bei was speaking, the muscles in his body were constantly contracting. The sound waves produced are super strong. Almost this sentence was decoded by satellites in less than 2 seconds after it was spoken, and all humans who were observing the situation could hear it. Global Security Conference Center. English, was this snake talking just now? He turned out to be English. The British Prime Minister couldn't sit still at all when he heard the voice from inside. He jumped up from his chair with a squeak, ignoring the face of being a head of state, and exclaimed loudly, "A snake is speaking English. This kind of thing, the first time any human sees it, can't calm down. Your Excellency, calm down. English is the common language. It's not surprising that this snake can say it. What he is really concerned about now should be what he said. Did you hear that?" The French president's face turned black, and he said the key. "What did you just say?" After his reminder, the heads of state in the conference room suddenly came back to their senses. Quickly, rewind the video and amplify the sound inside. The UN Secretary-General growled. Technicians, pounding on the computer. After a few seconds, the video rewinds. This time the conference room was extremely quiet, and all the heads of state stared at the huge 3D screen with eyes wide open. A erected green vine. Silvery little snake. Chi. The scarlet letter spit out from the snake's mouth, very clearly. Then, a sound wave came from the snake's mouth. Humanity. The Sahara Desert has become an oasis, and these living plants will not take a step forward to turn this place into the lungs of the earth to treat the damage you humans have caused to the earth. Don't you really plan to release Bin here? The voice came. Everyone can hear very clearly. Just. Yi Bei's voice did not end there, he continued. Experimental islands, mercenary bases, lost islands, the Atlantic Ocean, and the Sahara Desert. Since the day we appeared, humans have used various means and various forces to target everywhere, even around me, all with armed forces. The helicopter, the war is started by humans. So, now I want to say to all mankind, the earth should not be led by you. My mutant beast army and living plants will do everything to survive and food. When Yi Bei spoke, his voice was very cold. Declare war on all mankind? This kind of thing was something Yi Bei had never thought of. But since he was reborn as a python, his perspective on things has changed. As humans do more and more things, he becomes more and more disgusted. In order for the mutant beasts to become stronger and receive the treatment they deserve. In order to have enough strength to resist the life crisis in the universe, which is less than 2 years left. In order to get back everything that belongs to me. Yi Bei knew very well that the war between the mutant beast army he led and humans would start sooner or later. It has been delayed for so long, so it would be better to make it public today. Roar. The voice was not loud, but the momentum was like a rainbow. When Yi Bei's words reached the Global Security Conference Center, the 88 heads of state sitting in front of the computer looked dull and pale, and could not speak for a long time. Since the introduction of nuclear weapons, the world has entered a period of peace. In the Third World War, the major countries never thought that they would really appear, but today is declared war by the mutant beast army. The peace will be broken, and the whole world will fall into terrible war. Everyone, what should I do? The Secretary-General of the United Nations took a deep breath, stared at the 3D screen, and said slowly, "If it was a year ago, a little snake suddenly uttered English and threatened to declare war on the whole world. These leaders would be a little shocked at best, and it would not be a serious matter. But now it's different. The large living tree instantly covered the entire Sahara Desert, which was terribly threatening and could not even be destroyed by a huge fire. The mutated beasts demonstrated their strength in the Atlantic, and more than 2,000 ships were destroyed. They really have the power to fight against humans. Wow. Sahara Oasis, Wangwon, Golden Lion, Spring Flowers, and Autumn Moons, all of them look up and look into the sky. Yibei didn't speak loudly just now, but they all heard clearly. Yes, human beings not only wantonly destroy the Earth's environment, but they also targeted us everywhere from the beginning. The king is right. The contradiction between our mutant beast army and humans cannot be adjusted. There will be a battle sooner or later. This battle really makes me look forward to it. I want to eat them all and kill all human beings. The golden hair on the golden lion's body stood up, and when he spoke, he was murderous. I really hope to rush into the human world now. With their physical fitness, I guess they are extremely weak. Wangwon uttered a letter. At this moment, Tony and the humans in the Research Institute are all gathered nearby. Wangwon and Golden Lion's dialogue can be heard clearly, but after being controlled by Yibei, their allegiance is now the mutant beast army. Hearing such conversations, the expressions on their faces did not fluctuate. Global Security Conference Center. When Yibei's voice fell and more than 10 seconds passed, the Black President of the United States spoke with a gloomy face. I decided to immediately arrange for the fighters on the helicopter to cover the snake with firepower. In this world, no one or any force can provoke the U.S. The Black President almost roared this sentence. If it was a weekday, when he said this sentence, at least the Russian emperor would stand up and ridicule. But now, the leaders of other countries are all silent. Anyway, the U.S. as the hegemon of this world, at least in recent years, it is impossible to shake. The U.S. has received the most insult to the provocation of mutant beasts on humans. I agree. The British Prime Minister was quite witty and immediately expressed his opinion. I agree. The French President followed closely, with a look of good looks on his face. Is it time to teach this guy a lesson? I really think I'm invincible? I agree. The Russian Emperor squinted his eyes, but there was no change in expression on his face. Well, this snake is really too much. No matter how intelligent or valuable he is, he must pay for it today. So, I decided to abstain and just listen to you. The representative of Huaxia Kingdom had a righteous, distressed, and angry expression. When he said this, his mouth was still groaning. Only after saying this, once again, countless heads of state were impressed. Of the 5 big gangsters, 4 gangsters agreed and the other abstained. How the other small countries should choose, there will be an answer immediately. Very good. Actually, I personally agree with shooting that snake. I will deliver the mission instructions now. The result appears. The Secretary General of the United Nations said solemnly. Wow. Sahara Oasis. The helicopter driven by Ding Zhuang and Zhou Yuhang revolved around the vine where Yibei was. The drugs in the cabin have all been dumped, and now they just want to figure out what Yibei looks like. However, just as the helicopter made its third turn, there was another sound in the headset. Attention, everyone, the SSSSS level beheading mission will now be issued. Everyone has seen the vines and the little snake on it in the Sahara Desert? According to our analysis, this snake is extremely dangerous. Please everyone get your weapon ready and shoot that little snake on the carpet. It must be killed. The voice repeated over and over again. Extremely cold. The drug dumping just now was an SSSSS level mission. Shooting a snake this time is also an SSSSS level mission. What is going on it? If it is really an alien, shouldn't it be captured and researched? Zhou Yuhang's voice was shaking. Let attack and attack. This snake is not easy. Didn't you see that the tree vine is supporting him? Now that the target is exposed, it is the best chance to shoot and kill. Remember our identity. Soldiers take the mission as their natural responsibility. Ding Zhuang's eyes widened, and when he spoke, his hand had firmly grasped the weapon launcher. The two of them are just one of the densely packed helicopters. The voice of the mission just released. It resounds in every helicopter pilot's headset at the same time. On the green tree vines, Yibei's body is entwined, and the dazzling sunlight sheds from the sky and falls on him, looking very bright and mysterious. All around his body are flying helicopters, blue sky and white clouds, forming a beautiful scenery. Okay. However, at this moment Yibei was not in the mood to appreciate this kind of scenery. After saying what he had just said to humans, he immediately got the answer from humans in the field of spiritual power. Chi. His eyes narrowed, killing intent boiling in his eyes. Humans, are they taking the initiative to provoke me again? It's really a bunch of things that don't have a long memory. A cold voice appeared from his mouth. Roar. At the same time, there was a low growl in his mouth, and a ball of fire the size of a little finger was quietly formed in his mouth. Because it was too small, the pilots in the surrounding helicopters could not see it at all. The most important thing is that when the task is issued, the vast majority of helicopter pilots, without any doubt, actively begin preparations. The target has been locked, the wind speed is 35, the direction of 19 o'clock. The target has not moved for the time being, it can be directly covered by fire. Determine the target, the sniper is ready to shoot, ready to complete. Less than 10 seconds. The helicopters that originally hovered around Yibei were all suspended in the air. These helicopters formed a circle that completely surrounded Yibei. Wow! The huge fans stirred up together, and the sound of the propellers kept crashing. Thousands of helicopters. Tens of thousands of weapons were all aimed at Yibei. Hey, this snake won't run yet. I guess I'm scared. To be honest, when I first appeared, I was shocked. What SSSSS mission was enacted above, and you really take this snake seriously? Kill a snake. Get first-class merit. Just think about it. God is great. I feel I have been favored by God. The helicopter was floating. All weapons were aimed at Yibei. When a large number of soldiers saw Yibei entrenched on the vines, they all screamed with excitement, and there was a fierce light in their eyes, and they looked like they wished to smash Yibei's body into pieces. Fire. Finally, an order was given. Da-da-da. Boom. Booming. Wow. The entire Sahara Oasis, at an altitude of 1,200 meters, instantly became an ocean of war. Just now it was still a blue sky and white clouds, and now it is like hell. Wow. Relying on the rotation of the propellers, there are too many helicopters floating around Yibei, densely packed and countless. The deafening sound is even more nonstop. But, in addition to this sound, the humans who fired on the helicopter also roared loudly. Haha, kill this snake, no matter what it is, he must die today. It scared me to death before. As a soldier, this is a shame. Only by killing him can my anger be calmed. Ding Zhuang's body trembled. He roared in his mouth, and when he spoke, he madly pressed the weapon launcher, and a lot of bullets rushed out of the helicopter. Kill this snake. After we go back, we are all heroes, and we can make women unscrupulously. This came from a U.S. helicopter. Baga. The Big Island Empire will never be defeated. Kill him. Keep shooting. Don't stop. Obviously, it was a soldier sent by the island country who said this. These countries are only 3 of 88 countries. When the firing order was issued, all the helicopters were madly pouring bullets. Destruction, death, and human unscrupulous means, at this time, manifested vividly. Up to now, I still feel that humans are the masters of the world. Other creatures have no right to talk. As long as they express opinions, does it mean that they must die? Whoosh whoosh. Yibei squinted his eyes. When you see the fire, the bullet time has been quietly opened. There were too many bullets flying towards him, denser than the heavy rain. Boom. Boom. There were even a lot of bullets, while flying over, they hit each other directly in the air, making popping sounds and sparks. After the bullet time is turned on, in Yibei's sight, there was an extremely magical sight. The weapons exploded by these humans seemed to stand still in the air. Black bullets, brass bullets, rockets that look extremely threatening. There are even countless explosive bombs, armor-piercing bombs. Looking around, There are at least hundreds of different types, but Yi-Bei's knowledge is very limited. Such an intensive attack method. So many helicopters shooting together. Depending on the situation, he wouldn't give the target any way to survive, and he still wanted to completely become a fleshy posture. It's a pity that these humans are against me. Roar. After Yi-Bei finished saying this, his body suddenly became bigger during the bullet time. In the blink of an eye, he became the largest state of 550 meters. Because the tree vines could not bear Yi-Bei's current weight, they began to inch by inch. It broke, but the time was too short, at least during the bullet time. It still supported Yi-Bei. At the same time the body grows larger. The flame in his mouth also increased wildly. Booming. You are not polite. The muscles in the body contracted crazily, exploding with terrible power, and then, the flames in his mouth sprayed fiercely towards the helicopters directly in front of Yi-Bei. The flame is too big. The temperature is at least over 10,000. After the jet is ejected, the flame is continuously enlarged, covering a diameter of 2 kilometers, and the distance has reached more than 5,000 meters. The helicopters directly in front of Yi-Bei didn't even have a chance to react. They were instantly engulfed by a sea of flames. The hot temperature melted the helicopter into a pool of molten iron, and the pilot inside was burned to the point that there was no ashes left. Click. The total time is less than 1 second. After the flame erupted, Yi-Bei's body was transformed to its smallest form. At the same time, when the vines were cracking, Yi-Bei jumped directly to the side, speeding up and falling steadily on a huge leaf. Boom, boom. At this time finally returned to normal. The bullets exploded by countless helicopters collided with each other, and the sky over the Sahara oasis set off a brilliant light, and the strong smell of gunpowder directly overwhelmed the smell of medicine that had been scattered on the living tree before, spreading wantonly. The tragic explosion sounded even more. The destructiveness is too great. The entire Sahara oasis was shaken again because of the situation here. However, at the moment, when the heads of the 88 countries at the Global Security Conference Center looked at the pictures on the 3D screen in front of them, none of them were happy. Instead, they felt chills and dry throats. How could this be? Don't you let them fire. Why is this? What about the little snake? The mutant snake should be dead, right? Damn, what is going on? 3 seconds later, these heads of state all boiled, shouting one by one in disregard of their image. Because in the video they received, it was a completely different situation. At the moment when all the helicopters fired at Yi-Bei, one by one illusory giant silver-white python shadow appeared. But then, the shadow it turned into an extremely huge flame blinking in the air, and at least 1,000 helicopters were swept in. What happened? Did that silver-white little snake die? I can't see it at all. Slow down. Slow down the video you just shot 100 times. After the black president reacted, he roared loudly. He didn't believe that such a big flame would burst out in an instant, and that so many helicopters would be swallowed in an instant. In the video just now, something absolutely happened. Yes, slow down the video. Fast. Be sure to figure out what's going on. With the black president taking the lead, the 88 heads of state immediately screamed, but their eyes were still wide open. The more unknown, the more feared. Thousands of helicopters can be swept in at once. This kind of destructive power is really terrifying. I don't dare to imagine. If this kind of flame occurs in a big city, it will cause much loss. Not only these 88 heads of state were shocked. Over the Sahara oasis, the surviving helicopter pilots were even more frightened on the spot, even saying that they didn't even know what happened. Just as they fired together, there was immediately a dazzling fire. After reacting, the front became a sea of flames, and countless helicopters were burned. Whew! At the same time, there were waves of heat, madly impacting them. Toot toot. In the cab, the sound of the alarm came after another. How to do? Go back quickly. If you continue to stay, the helicopter will be damaged by this high temperature. Damn it, is that snake dead? It's terrible. How did this flame come from? Wow. The surviving helicopters scattered quickly, and the pilots were all frightened. As for Yi-Bei at this moment, his body is entrenched in this oasis, on a leaf above the endless living tree, looking at the helicopters that have dispersed. He has no intention of letting go. His eyes are full of killing intent. People don't commit me. I don't commit people. If anyone offends me, I will kill. The soul merges with the python, and the human nature gradually fades away. As far as Yi-Bei is concerned, killing a human will not produce any foodon at all, and every time, humans come to provoke him. Mutated birds, listen. Now I'll give you a task. Have you seen these helicopters preparing to escape? Pick out all the pilots inside. Spiritual power field release. Yi-Bei's voice resounded directly in the mutant beast army. In the Legion, there are many birds. After mutation, their flying speed and wisdom have been unprecedentedly improved. Hearing Yi-Bei's order, these birds did not hesitate. Puff puff. One by one, they quickly waved their wings, pouting constantly. Whoosh. Soon, their bodies rushed out to look into the air at the extreme speed. When their bodies rubbed against the air, they could even make a constant whistling sound. 100, 200, 1,000. Yes, there are quite a few mutant birds in the mutant beast army. There were a lot of species on the experimental island, but these birds have always been responsible for reconnaissance and have not participated in the battle. But Yi-Bei knew very well that their combat effectiveness was absolutely not bad. A large number of birds flew up. Raging. What is that? Something flew out from below? What a big bird. What kind of bird is this? No, they rushed towards us. Everyone avoided and shot at the same time. The scattered helicopter pilots yelled one by one after seeing the situation. During the high-speed flight of the helicopter, once it hits a bird, the consequences will be disastrous, and the birds that appear now are not ordinary at first glance, giving them an extremely dangerous feeling. Whoosh whoosh. After Yi-Bei watched a large number of mutant birds chase the helicopter, his mental power was released and he began to communicate with the living tree. In addition to the strong smell of gunpowder smoke, the air was also mixed with the smell of many pesticides, all of which were spilled by these helicopters. Living tree, how are you now? Does these liquids affect you? Yi-Bei asked very directly. It used to be flames, but now it's toxins against plants. The existence of large living trees has never taken the initiative to provoke humans and relieve the exhaust gas for the earth, but humans continue to make troubles, which makes Yi-Bei even more resentful of humans. Wong, I obeyed your order. At first, I only used part of the roots to absorb. Some of the liquid will not have any effect on me, but some of the liquid will directly dry the roots. Once it is found to be damaged, immediately remove it. Cut off, in general, these liquids will not have any effect on my growth status. The living tree quickly reported the situation. Call. After receiving this message, Yi-Bei breathed a sigh of relief, feeling relieved. If this kind of result is known to those humans, they would all have to vomit blood. They made such a big move and sent so many helicopters to carry medicines. In the end, it was completely ineffective against living trees and lost a lot of helicopters. The typical is to lose the wife and lose the soldiers. That's good, continue on your side, and be careful when absorbing substances. Human beings will never give up. Yi-Bei continued. The body quickly rushed toward the mutant beast group. But the spiritual power domain is fully released, carefully observing how those mutant birds will deal with helicopters. A mutant seagull, super fast. When a helicopter turned around and fled, the guy went crazy, waving his wings, and glide toward the helicopter. Whoosh! Like a gray lightning, it whizzed through the air. What is that? Smecta. How is this speed possible? Is it a mutant bird? Smecta. Seagull, giant seagull, Smecta. What he was staring at was a Bangziguo helicopter. The two pilots inside saw the gray shadow outside, and they kept yelling recently. The sound of Smecta made it disgusting. Boom. Just as the muscles on the faces of the two pilots were twisted, and their eyes were full of incredible and fear, I saw that mutant seagull stretched out its evolved sharp and hard claws and slammed into a helicopter. On the window. Click. In the next second, The helicopter glass made of special material easily appeared a lot of cracks like spider webs, and then there was a click, and the glass windows were all shattered. What? The eyes of the two Bangziguo pilots were almost staring, and all their pupils were bloodshot. The unprecedented fear left their minds blank, and the screaming voices in their mouths were out of control. And some of the helicopter pilots who hovered around were also staring at this moment. In their sight, there is a completely different picture. I saw a huge seagull soaring into the sky from the living tree, easily smashing the glass window of a helicopter, two claws, each grabbing a pilot, waving its wings, flying in the air. Wow! The helicopter that lost control tilted towards the Sahara oasis and fell. At the moment of contact with the living tree, a large number of vines surged up, entangled all the helicopter, and forcibly turned off the fire. God, this is all right? In the air, the nearby helicopter pilots were all dumbfounded, and some of them looked dull and exclaimed. These mutant birds have very flexible bodies, and they are also very sturdy and aggressive. They immediately reported to them that these guys are coming for us. They want to catch us. Some highly qualified pilots immediately analyzed the situation, yelled, and quickly reported to the superior through the headset communication device, operating the helicopter to escape. Retreat. Retreat quickly. Speed up. Never let them come close. Help. Over the Sahara oasis, when tens of thousands of helicopters faced more than 1,000 mutant birds, they did not have any resistance. They were all chased and killed wantonly. When such a scene was transmitted back through satellite video, each the heads of the big countries stared at the big 3D screen for a long time without words. Their complexion turned blue and ugly. Even though they overestimated the strength of the living trees and mutant beasts time and time again, they found that they were not enough at all. Helicopter gunship, chased by mutant birds? This blow is really too big. Global Security Conference Center. The President of the United States looked at the situation on the screen. His eyes widened, and his eyes were full of scarlet, bloodshot eyes. Impossible. All the elite soldiers we sent this time are all elite soldiers from various countries, and each helicopter is armed with weapons. Now it is being chased by a group of mutant birds and even destroyed. Who can tell me what's going on? The voice was loud, and it was completely roaring. But at this moment, he is not facing the generals of the United States, but the heads of countries. What happened? Almost no one at the scene can say the most accurate answer. The UN Secretary General's expression is also ugly to the extreme. Everyone, the main task of this operation is to carry drugs and spread them on the Sahara Desert. The ultimate goal of dispatching military helicopters is to ensure their safety. Normally, they are not. Conventional combat teams will cause this situation to occur and will be chased by mutant birds. At the same time, there are a large number of other reasons. We know too little about the enemy, and we don't even know the enemy. What a huge team Fong has. This is the deadliest. What we should do now is to calm down, analyze the situation clearly, and then think about countermeasures. The unknown enemy is the most terrifying. The heads of all countries know this truth very well. You guys go ahead, I'll make a call. However, after listening to the President of the United States, he was unceremonious and angrily dropped this sentence, then snapped and turned off the computer. Sorry, for 2 consecutive missions, our country's losses were too great. Not only did we lose outstanding soldiers, but also a lot of weapons. I must discuss this matter with the top leaders of our country and ask the Queen for advice. Snapped. The British Prime Minister also decisively dropped this sentence and then turned off the computer. Then came the Russian Emperor, the French President, the representative of China. The 5 gangsters withdrew briefly from the meeting, leaving the heads of small countries staring at each other. The United States, the White House, the President's office. After quitting the video conference, the Black President sat in a leather chair, closed his eyes, and rubbed his temples vigorously. After more than 10 seconds passed, he opened his eyes were cold, and he picked up the one on the table. A phone call. Quickly dial up. Tony. 5 months have passed without any news. Living plants, mutant beasts, and the civilization of beast gods. Is it true that the United States has devoted so much research to it that it really fails? When dialing the phone, the Black President muttered to himself. For these 5 months, not only him, but all the senior Americans who knew about the plan of the civilization of the beasts tried to contact the Underground Research Institute in the Sahara Desert every moment. For the first time, a large amount of gasoline was used to ignite the flame. For the second time, major pesticide companies around the world were urgently mobilized to poison living trees. Seriously speaking, these two methods are really terrible and have no technical content. The Black President knew that the methods were inferior, but still supported it. The main reason was that once nuclear weapons were used, it would cause irreversible damage to the Institute. All of the sky-high investment in the United States would become cannon fodder, and it might even be known to the world. Everything is made by Migu behind the scenes, and no one can bear the consequences. Toot toot. At the desk, a beep came from the phone, and the Black President held his forehead with his hand. Too many people have died so far, and living trees and mutant creatures have truly threatened the safety of the world, and even threatened the hegemony of the United States in the world. This is the most intolerable for Black presidents. Last chance, Tony. If you still don't answer the phone, then I can only agree to a nuclear strike. Beep. The voice stretched very long, and as time passed, the Black president's complexion became more and more ugly. Except for the United States. After turning off the computer, the other four gangsters started to act quickly. United Kingdom. My Lady Queen, the situation on the Sahara Desert has completely unexpectedly exceeded our expectations. If this continues, human sacrifice will continue to increase. So I suggest using nuclear weapons, so I specifically consult your opinion. Of course, after this, I will also communicate with the staff in detail. The British Prime Minister called. His expression was very serious. Yes, he is much more direct than the Black President of the United States. For the first time, 100,000 soldiers were lost, and now countless helicopters were destroyed, and all mutant beasts were still in the Sahara Desert. Taking the opportunity to launch a nuclear bomb was undoubtedly the best opportunity. I have not asked about government matters. If you feel it is necessary, just do it, and the royal family will not interfere. The Queen's extremely calm voice came over the phone, but after the British Prime Minister heard it, he immediately understood the meaning and solemnly said, "I understand." Next came Russia, France, China. Without exception, after turning off the computer video, they immediately gathered their trustworthy high-level and military leaders to discuss the nuclear attack. The Sahara Oasis. Yi Bei was entrenched in it, sending out the field of mental power. He noticed that the helicopters fled frantically. After the pilots were caught and sent over, he was very satisfied with the combat effectiveness of the mutant birds. It's too powerful, Wong. Human helicopters are nothing more than that. As long as we develop enough mutant birds and the advantages of sea, land, and air, we will have all of them. As long as the weapons keep up, humans will be vulnerable. Beside, a mutant monkey said excitedly. These monkeys not only have extraordinary wisdom, powerful science and technology theories, and learned from Tony and others. After understanding the bomb principle, they are all military experts. Yes, King, it is necessary to conquer enough birds, not only to be responsible for monitoring, but also as the main fighting force. If these birds learn to use weapons, it will be great. A group of mutant monkeys started booing. As for Yi Bei, he listened patiently, his eyes gradually lit up. Yes, I have been working on the development of the snake army and the powerful fighting beasts, thus ignoring the birds. Imagine if all mutant birds learn to use their claws to pull the pistol, and then follow the shape of the bird's claws. Let the mutant monkeys customize a batch of weapons that can be used. After flying into the air, how terrible is such an army? This is the truly perfect air force. However, just as Yi Bei was thinking about this, under the attack of the mutant birds, a pilot was caught. When the helicopter pilots were thrown in front of Yi Bei, they were all shocked. Among them were Ding Zhuang and Zhou Yuhang. Ding Zhuang, Zhou Yuhang. As one of the most outstanding soldiers in China, this SSSSS mission was carefully selected from the army. It is not too much to say that it is the king of soldiers. Before coming here, the two had declared that even if they sacrificed their lives, they had to complete the task. It's just that they never dreamed that they would be caught alive by a huge bird. Even the helicopter was controlled by trees and vines. Even until just now, their heads were still blank. 100, 200, 500. More and more humans are caught by mutant birds. With the passage of time, these humans finally reacted, but after seeing the creeping dense mutant beasts and the endless living trees and vines, all of their faces were covered by despair. Chi-Chi. Yi-Bei's eyes were cold. He glanced at these human beings and vomited scarlet letters. Congratulations. From now on, you have become the captives of our mutant beasts. In addition, you can fly a helicopter and your level is pretty good. If you want to continue to live, you will teach everything you know. Yi-Bei is not polite. Since the development of the mutant beast group, the speed of improvement is very fast, and the most critical part of it is inseparable from human beings. It was just Yi-Bei's abrupt sentence that made the captured soldiers of various countries directly stunned. Baga, I'm fighting with you. Isn't it just a bunch of mutant beasts? An island soldier froze for a while and did not know where the courage came from. Such a roar erupted from his mouth. When he spoke, he pulled out a soft sword from his waist and rushed towards Yi-Bei with red eyes. Come. Another group of human beings who do not live or die. Wang Wan, Golden Lion, Chunhua Chiuyue. Looking at them looking for joy, they thought to themselves that the killing intent in their eyes was growing, all waiting for Yi-Bei's order. Islanders. Chi-Chi. Yi-Bei didn't dodge, he said softly. Kwangdang. In the next second, the soft sword really slashed on Yi-Bei. The island nation's army looked happy, but soon was completely occupied by fear. Impossible. It is absolutely impossible. This soft sword is made by the most famous swordsmith in our country. Even if it is an iron block, it can be cut off. Why can't it kill a snake? The hand holding the soft sword trembled violently. Very good, human. Then you go to die. Roar. Yi-Bei is not wordy here. If you want to make these humans completely frightened, you must let them know where the gap is. This is also the reason why Yi-Bei didn't dodge the soft sword. He roared, and the next moment, Yi-Bei opened his mouth wide with a scarlet red line. His shadow flashed, and at the same time, his body was almost 5 meters long in the blink of an eye. Sharp teeth. Huge mouth. Click. As soon as scarlet letters were rolled, the soldiers of the island nation were directly swallowed by Yi-Bei. Click, click. The 2 rows of teeth in his mouth bite fiercely, and the sound of broken bones kept coming from Yi-Bei's mouth. Click. At the same time, bright red blood dripped to the ground along the corner of Yi-Bei's mouth. Eat, cannibal. Ding Zhuang's eyes were almost staring out, his legs were soft, and when he spoke, he knelt on the ground with a plop. Bigger in an instant, monster. This must be a monster. Zhou Yuheng roared, his face pale. Snake, Lord Serpent, don't kill me. I don't want to die. Let me do anything. It was an islander who was speaking. When he was truly threatened by the cruelest threat, the so-called Bushido spirit of the islander was completely vulnerable. He knelt on his knees, crying, and wanted to live. God, it must be an alien. We were all kidnapped by aliens. The government concealed us, and there are other humans in this team. They must have been kidnapped too. An American was also kneeling on the ground, but this guy was more courageous. When speaking, he raised his head and kept staring at Yi-Bei. At the same time, his eyes swept over Tony and others. His voice was uncontrollable. The Golden Lion, Wang Wan, Chunhua Qiyu, the Joy-Seeking, and a large number of mutant beasts next to them were completely displeased with these humans. After hearing their voices, they couldn't help them one by one. Shut up, human. Roar. The Golden Lion growled. It seems that you all really want to die. Chi-Chi. Wang Wan uttered a letter. Humans are really disgusting. A mutant orangutan has disdain in his eyes. Without awareness of danger, don't you realize who you are facing? The mutant monkey also spoke. 1, 2. The tens of thousands of mutant beasts around all spoke English, and suddenly there were accusations against humans on the spot. Wow. The sound came after another. These captured humans were completely destroyed by playing. Faced with so many mutant beasts that can talk, they feel that their heads are simply not enough. Be quiet. When the scene was too noisy, Yibei spoke up. His voice was not loud, but when his voice fell, the scene immediately became extremely quiet. This was the deterrent power of the mutant beast king. Everyone, those who can come here are the elites of mankind. You should be very clear about what to do and teach my subordinates the knowledge. Otherwise, you will die. When Yibei spoke, the teeth in his mouth were all stained with blood. His eyes were extremely indifferent. Huh. Then they looked at the golden lion, Wang Wan and the others. All the humans caught by the birds will be handed over to you. Anything that is useless can be swallowed by yourself. They came here in a helicopter and took the initiative to deal with us. At that moment, it was destined to pay for this. When speaking, Yibei's voice was clearly heard by these humans. Kill Lao Tzu if you have one. Someone refused to accept it and shouted with courage. Click. The next moment, a mutant orangutan standing next to him suddenly grew bigger, stretched out his huge hands, grabbed it directly, like breaking a chopstick, and broke this person effortlessly from the middle, and then threw it in his own mouth. I am a soldier, with my own glory. Let me betray humanity. I can't do it. Puff. Those who said this were directly charged by a mutant wolf, biting off his head in one bite, and bright red blood spurted out of his neck. Everything happened in a flash. When Yibei's order fell, all human beings who expressed opinions were swallowed. Those human beings who didn't speak, after seeing this scene, finally realized the terrible things. These mutant beasts in front of them are all playing real, and if they are not careful, they will definitely die miserably. Under this violent method, the arrested humans have finally learned a lot more intelligently. However, just as Yibei was about to move on, leaving the Sahara Desert and marching towards humans, a mutant monkey suddenly jumped up and shouted loudly, "Wong Wong, we have just installed the communication device here." After receiving the signal, it shows that it is from the White House of the United States. Call from the US White House? The mutant monkey's voice was so loud that all the captured humans heard it. They were extremely desperate, and there was a glimmer of hope in their eyes. They all felt that the US president might be here to save everyone, but they just couldn't understand why the US president could get in touch with here. Tony and others also heard it. If it was before, Tony would definitely rush over and take the initiative to answer the call. But since being affected by Yibei's mental power, he instinctively seeks Yibei's advice for everything. At this time, he also sets his sights on Yibei. Chi-Chi. Tony, you go answer the phone. I was just about to talk to the humans. They can only hear the previous call, but they can't respond. Yibei spit out the letter and said to Tony, "Yes, King." Tony nodded and walked towards the communication device. Such a scene made the captured humans puzzled. They really couldn't figure out why a US man who seemed extremely wise would respect a snake as the king. America, the White House. The black president sitting in the office looked colder and colder. As the phone remained unanswered, his patience became less and less. However, just when he was about to cancel the call, drop, a different voice came through the phone. Wow. Hearing this sound, the black president jumped up from his seat with a clatter, suddenly reached out and took the phone over because he knocked over a stack of papers on the table too quickly and scattered all the attention without paying attention. The call is connected. Tony, you bastard. What are you doing? 5 months have passed. 5 months have passed. You are only answering the phone now? Tell me, what's going on your side? If mutant beasts and living plants, if it cannot be resolved, I will apply for a nuclear strike now. Grabbing the phone, the black president roared directly, no longer the calm tone he had before. It's just that this guy didn't know that Yibei had spoken out. The voice of the black president was heard by all the mutant beasts, and all the humans who were arrested also heard it. Especially those human beings, selected from elites from all over the world, are definitely not low in IQ. When they heard this, they were all taken aback and intuitively told them that a huge secret was about to be revealed. Your Excellency, we have indeed encountered some troubles here recently. In order to prevent the invasion of mutant beasts, We blew up the entrance of the institute because the explosion caused huge damage and caused all communication equipment to be useless. Until today, it was completely repaired. Tony was very calm. I picked up the phone and put it to my ear. When I said this, there was no expression on his face, let alone tension. Damn it, our US government invested so much money in you. But in the end, nothing was done and so many monsters were created. Tony, give me a solution right away. The black president continued to roar. What? The arrested humans around them all trembled when they heard this, and their eyes were filled with unbelievable expressions. These living big trees and countless mutant beasts are not alien creatures? Is it made by humans? And is the US government funding behind? This information is really shocking. Especially among them, there are many American soldiers. Sorry, Your Excellency, the mutant beasts and living plants are beyond our control, and there is nothing I can do about it. You better ask for your own blessings. Tony spoke coldly. Tony, are you tired of living? Remember your identity. Now your life is in the hands of our US government. As long as we don't come to the rescue, you will all die. The black president was furious and shouted, Government, all of this is actually done by the government. You idiots, what have you done? A US soldier couldn't stand it anymore when he heard this. He lost control of his emotions and shouted loudly. Click. As soon as the voice fell, he was bitten off by a mutant reticulated python next to him. But this sentence was still heard by the black president. Tony, who was the person who spoke just now? I don't care what his relationship is with you. You should know the stakes. I don't want to hear this voice again in the future, and it will be resolved as soon as possible. The black president is ranting this time. Okay, Tony, let me do it. When Yi-Bei heard this, he couldn't help it. Faintly said to Tony, Zizi. Then the body slowly moved towards the communication device. It's funny to say. When he was a human, Yi-Bei was also the boss of a big group, but he was not qualified to talk to the President of the United States. Even if he could talk when he was really a human, Yi-Bei would definitely feel very nervous. Instead, it has become a python. Yi-Bei has no obstacles. Yes, King. Tony is respectful. What is going on? Who is the king? Tony, you talk to me, believe it or not, I will launch a nuclear bomb over there now. The White House, the office, the black president has turned everything on his desk to the ground, roaring in his mouth and bloodshot eyes, and a bad premonition is growing crazily in his heart. Sure enough, in the next moment, a voice that was extremely cold and hoarse came over slowly. Your Excellency, the President of the United States. I'm sorry. One thing I hope you can understand. Tony has nothing to do with your United States now. He has become my most loyal lackey, and the entire Saharan Institute is the same. In addition, just not long ago, humans photographed the soldiers on the side of the Sahara and were captured by my army. Of course, more than half of them died because of dishonesty. Some people, all of them heard the voice you just said, and it was recorded. Yi-Bei's voice was slow, but very clear. The United States, the White House, the black president heard this, and sweat suddenly appeared on his forehead, and his back felt cold. You, who are you? After clenching his teeth and trembling in his mouth, letting all mankind know that all the living plants of mutant beasts were made by the United States, the consequences would be disastrous. At that time, the entire United States will be subject to international crusades. Me? It's the silver-white python that you ordered a large number of helicopters to attack before, and the king of the entire mutant beast army. Yi-Bei didn't hide it. Kwangdang. However, after listening to the black president, he only felt his whole body lose his strength in an instant. The telephone receiver in his hand fell to the ground with a bang. His complexion changed frantically. Hoo-hoo-hoo. The black president sat back on the chair, inhaling heavily. Realizing that the phone had fallen, he immediately bent down again and quickly grabbed it from the ground. I was talking to a snake? The complexion that was originally pitch black was constantly changing at this moment, sometimes turning blue and sometimes turning white. Cold sweat on his forehead. The legs are trembling even more. As the President of the United States, he has always been extremely arrogant no matter what forces he faces. As for fear, it has never happened before. But talking to a snake today, he is totally unable to calm down. It's as if the concepts and logic he has stuck to for decades have all been crushed. You are the silver-white little snake? The king of the mutant beasts army? However, how do I believe that the English you speak now? After taking a few deep breaths, the black president calmed down a little bit. 3 questions emerged. It doesn't matter if we believe it or not. We are about to attack the human world. But before that, I changed my mind. I need a part of the human city. At the same time, I need the entire Sahara Desert and the Amazon virgin forest. Just send what I need. Give me. I can guarantee that within 2 years, there will be absolutely no harm to humans. Chi-Chi. Yibei spit out Shinzi and said slowly, "Okay." The golden lion, Wang Wan, Chunhua Chiuyue beside them were looking for joy and joy. At this moment, their bodies were stunned. They all looked at Yibei together. They were ready to go to the human world. If you change your mind at this time, it is really hard to accept. The Sahara Desert, the Amazon virgin forest, and the city? Haha. No matter what you are the king of the mutant beast army or whoever you are, I can only say that your proposal is ridiculous. The White House, the office, the black president was extremely angry, but at this time, his face showed a very obvious smile. The entire earth is human. Human beings are the well-deserved masters on the earth. Now giving up some territory to other creatures in exchange, it turns out that those creatures did not take action against humans. For the black president, this is extremely ridiculous. You sure? Yibei's voice was cold. In fact, his offer was only a test. The reaction of the black president has already represented the will of human beings. Sure enough, humans are very proud. Only war can let them know how powerful they are and make them feel real fear. I'm sure, I don't care who you are. Since Tony is under your control, there is nothing to talk about. The secrets of the Sahara Desert will be buried from today. Snapped. After saying this, the black American president did not hesitate and hung up the phone with a snap. Tony betrayed. The mutant beast was arrogant, which made him completely unbearable, especially since he vaguely knew that he had just spoken, as if something had been leaked. What he had to do now was to solve all the troubles as quickly as possible. So after hanging up the phone, he immediately convened a meeting with senior American officials. And the Sahara Oasis? Yibei was entrenched on the ground, and when he noticed that the communication device was hung up, he slightly raised his head and glanced at the captured humans. Over time, the number of captured humans around has soared to more than 2,000. The number of helicopters taken was more than 1,000. I found that Yibei was looking at himself. One of the U.S. soldiers took the courage and risked being swallowed at any time. His eyes were all blank. He looked at Yibei and shouted, "Mutated Beast King, is the U.S. president really talking to him?" Court death. When a mutant reticulated python heard it, it opened its mouth and was about to bite towards the soldier's neck. Wait, but Yibei stopped in time. Let him continue talking. Yes, King. The mutant reticulated python retreated. Yibei looked at the U.S. soldier with interest. Knowing that speaking is death at this time, he still shouted out loudly. It can be seen that the words of the black president just now hit these soldiers loyal to the country. How big? Human beings are not destroyed in the hands of other forces, but in their own hands. Did the U.S. government make you? And the living trees around? Then send us to get rid of you? The American soldier continued to speak. His eyes were blood red. Who? By the side, the soldiers from various countries who had been captured were also exhaling at this moment, all looking at Yibei's body. They killed the enemy outside, sacrificed their lives for the country, and finally found that all of them were just superiors. Our games, for the so-called honor, are all victims in the end, and the sadness in my heart can be imagined. You already know why you need to ask me? Okay, if that's right, then those humans will bomb the entire Sahara and even directly use nuclear weapons. Wang Wan, Golden Lion, take these prisoners. We are ready to evacuate. Besides, whoever is verbose and swallows it directly, this stupid human being is not qualified to live. Chi-Chi. Yibei's voice was cold. He has no pity for these soldiers. However, after Yi Bei finished speaking, many prisoners still yelled at their deaths. Impossible. The country will never abandon us. Click. The sound fell, and he died on the spot. As long as we are still alive, there will be no bombing above, they promised. Puff. His head was cut off instantly. Asshole, don't try to mislead us. Humans will never abandon us. Boom. The body was hit by a huge force and turned into a pool of flesh. At this moment, the mutant beast army will be fierce, cruel, and cold-blooded to the extreme. Any captive who talks will be killed immediately and swallowed, completely ruthless. Wow. But these did not affect the advance speed of the mutant beast army. Yi Bei is at the forefront. Tens of thousands of beasts followed closely, and the sound of clattering continued to resound in it. Of course, the mutant birds in the air were still chasing the helicopter. In the process, humans were still being captured. The battle continues. At the same time, the Global Security Conference Center. More than 10 minutes later, the 5 gangsters who had just turned off the computer appeared again. Everyone's expression is extremely solemn, but their eyes are much colder than before. After seeing this, the Secretary General of the United Nations has no joy or sorrow on his face, and his tone is calm. Everyone, it seems that you have all made a decision. Then, the meeting continues. Let's start the voting process directly. This time voting is only allowed a country with nuclear weapons. The voice fell. The entire conference room was extremely silent. Nuclear weapons. We still have to get to this point. Da-da-da. One by one bullets shot over the Sahara oasis. The soldiers in the helicopters chased by the mutant birds calmed down a little bit, and they were fighting back desperately. For the glory of mankind, in order to complete the tasks explained above, all of them were completely sacrificed. On the US side, the Global Security Conference Center. A voting option appeared on the big 3D screen. The content of the poll is very simple. First, use nuclear strikes on the Sahara. Second, seek other ways besides nuclear strikes. Third, abstention. There are 5 countries that can vote, namely Russia, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and China. As for the North Korean General Kim, who claimed to have nuclear weapons, he leaned back on his chair after realizing that he wanted to play with him, with an extremely plain expression on his face, and had long put aside his previous threats of dropping a nuclear bomb on the Sahara. The situation in the Sahara Desert completely exceeded our expectations. You have seen the combat effectiveness of those mutant birds, and they can even easily block helicopters. According to the information I just received, at least thousands of outstanding soldiers were arrested by them. Go, life and death do not know. Once this creature appears in the human world, the consequences are unimaginable, as are the living trees. This kind of plant directly destroys the ecological balance of the entire Earth. Now they are all in no man's land. If a good opportunity for destruction is missed, let them disperse. No country can bear this responsibility and loss. The black president sat in front of the computer with a heavy face, and when he spoke, his murderous aura continued to boil. 5 months ago, he tried his best to prevent the use of nuclear weapons, but today, he is promoting this. I have no problem. Your Excellency the President of the United States made a lot of sense. The Sahara Desert is no man's land. A nuclear explosion in that place can minimize the impact. To this end, we, the United Kingdom, will take the initiative to produce 20 nuclear bombs. The British Prime Minister answered immediately. After speaking, he nodded slightly at the Black President of the United States, as if he was showing goodwill. Hiss. When the leaders of the small countries around who participated in the meeting heard this, they sucked in air. The opening is 20 nuclear bombs. How much is this to be put into the Sahara? Is it really not afraid of bringing huge disasters to the entire planet? You must know that one nuclear bomb is enough to cause a small country to inflict pain that can never be erased, and its economy is set back for decades. 20 can completely erase a country from the earth. We in France can also provide 20 nuclear bombs. This time, we can only succeed, not fail, and all dangers must be killed in the cradle. The French president also spoke. People who can sit here have extremely high wisdom, and when they recognize one thing, they will be rude. Now that they have judged the existence of the mutant beast army and it poses a huge threat to humans, they will not let the mutant beast army continue to develop stupidly, and direct destruction is the best way. Britain, France, and the United States all voted. As a result, the eyes naturally shifted to the representatives of the Russian emperor and China. I agree, but have you ever thought about it? 5 months ago, we lost 100,000 elite soldiers. This time, the number of helicopters sent exceeded 20,000. Once nuclear weapons are used, all soldiers will die, not even ashes. When the Russian emperor spoke, there was a trace of sadness in his eyes. He was once a Russian soldier and an elite, but now he has no choice. For the sake of all mankind, there are always a few people who need to sacrifice. The presence of those soldiers can reduce the vigilance of the mutant beasts. They are valuable and their sacrifices are also worthwhile. The Russian emperor, I can understand your feelings. The black president said in a deep voice. 5 big hooligans, now 4 countries have made a decision. Although the next choice of Huaxia Nation is irrelevant, the 4 big hooligans still looked at the representative of Huaxia Nation. The impact of a large number of nuclear explosions is too great, and the head of every country must make a statement. Cough. After discovering that the heads of all countries were focusing on themselves, the representative of Huaxia State coughed. On behalf of China, I abstained from voting on this vote and did not express any opinions, but for the needs of the war, our country will unconditionally contribute 30 nuclear bombs. When speaking, his expression was extremely serious. After listening to the other 4 gangsters, all the faces were black lines. On the real gangsters and the gesture of fish catching, they were completely convinced at this time. Huaxia Kingdom was definitely the world's #1 deservedly. The voting is over. 4 votes in favor and 1 abstention. After this kind of result appeared, the heads of small countries who came to this meeting were all shocked in their hearts, and at the same time they began to quietly make small calculations. Disasters often go hand in hand with wealth. If they are used well, they will help their country rise. The quick way. The voting is over. The results this time were also within the expectations of the UN Secretary General. But when the final result came out, the man also had a lot of cold sweat on his forehead. Everyone, the impact of nuclear weapons on mankind is self-evident, but if the Sahara Desert is not controlled, all mankind will have huge disasters. Time is everything. I declare that from now on, all countries will immediately mobilize weapons and locate the Sahara Desert, ready to bomb. The UN Secretary General's voice was low. Immediately afterwards, the 5 hooligans acted immediately. One after another picked up the phone and gave the highest order. At this moment, the black president of the United States has a little calmer face. As long as the Sahara side is completely destroyed, the secrets of the US government will never be known. Although the loss has been a bit heavy, there is no doubt from the current situation is the best result. The Sahara Oasis. Wow. Yi Bei led the mutant beast army, advancing very fast. However, just as Yi Bei was thinking about how much resistance he would encounter when he returned to the human world, the voice of the system resounded in his mind without warning. After hearing the sound, Yi Bei's eyes immediately widened and also stopped on the spot. Warning, the host, according to the system's judgment, a large-scale lethal weapon has targeted the Sahara Desert. Since the host's current strength is not enough to contend with, it is recommended that the host avoid immediately. The sound of the system is very rapid. This is the first time this warning has been issued since the system was acquired for so long, even when the mercenary base was attacked by missiles before. Can you tell what it is? Yi Bei communicated with the system in a deep voice in his mind. Nuclear bomb. The voice is cold and mechanical. Laugh. When such a word appeared, Yi Bei immediately released a terrifying aura, and the cold light in his eyes continued.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.